It could be said that all individuals have a very unique way of looking at the world. From birth, we all develop our sight not just through seeing, but from the varied experiences we encounter. That means there are roughly 7.6 billion people on the planet who will see the sunrise differently. Wonder why Japan wasn't land of the setting sun. Though, in that same way, a sunset has very unique meanings for different cultures, and depending on where you are in the world, your political standings, religious bias, or experience with them, there could be an even deeper emotional connection to it. That's 7.6 billion people dealing with mixed emotions each day over just this. When you look at this tree, what are you seeing? Like the glass that is either half empty or half full. Do you see a tree that has died? Or do you see a tree in hibernation, waiting for spring to give it life? Perhaps you were looking beyond the tree. A good seed has just been planted. This is my mother and I photo boothing it after she recorded her first cover. The song was Eternal Flame by the Bangles. She is my inspiration, and it is because of her that I would become comfortable questioning the world around me. I learned through our struggles that it was okay to scrutinize yourself as long as it was constructive and not destructive. I had asked myself countless questions by the eve of 2015. Yet, out of all of them, only one would change my life forever. How do you see the world? For this, I had no answer, but the germ had already sprouted. So like everyone else, I began searching. From street corner to alleyway, I went looking for the geometric shapes that would resonate with me. I wanted to understand this world and how I saw it. Still, all I found were the box-like structures meant to distract us or keep us contained. But I refused to have my sight confined. I found myself reaching out to places I had never been, climbing to heights I never thought I could, just to gain some perspective. All the while, noticing that I really wasn't seeing the world any differently. Until one day I happened upon an elegantly dressed woman, mourning her youth. She never did see me, but the sadness on her face was apparent. I only hoped that this snapshot would immortalize her before the rain came to wash her away. I started observing animals and creatures I had never seen before, and somehow were closer to me than I had ever thought possible. To this day, I still don't know what that gnome was contemplating while he sat there on my stove. Perhaps, like me, he was just trying to figure out his place in all of this. I began to see more and more of this world that was hidden in the backdrop of our everyday lives. I started interacting less with toxic relationships and instead taking pictures of strangers with no names. This one tipped his hat off to me just in time, though I do wonder if he moved on, or maybe he's still in the same place I saw him last. The more I engaged this world, the more open my mind was to the experiences, the more strength I found within myself to look further and finally shed myself of the fears that had held me back. I felt a kind of power I had never known and was opening doors I thought had never existed. This newfound perspective had given me the strength to confront the demons I never thought I could rid myself of. The scary, sad, and horrible corners of my mind I chose to forget in my youth were now brought to light, and I was finally able to use what I'd learned to forgive those who had hurt me. But we know that with great power comes great responsibility, and it was within these words I sought refuge. There was a storm of thoughts raging in my mind as I continued down the rabbit hole. I knew that engaging perspectives would be dangerous, as there have been many artists before me who had died trying desperately to show the world what could only be seen by them. A kind of metamorphosis started taking place, and I could only describe what I was experiencing as the quantum state. I realized that it was more than just sight. It was my perspective of the world that brought these things I saw to life. But how do you engage the perspective of people who have only seen the world through one ideal their entire life? First, show them a world with multiple interpretations, where no one viewpoint is necessarily the right one. Second, express as simply as you can what you see. And third, Ask those same people to describe to you what they see. The better we understand how people see the world, the better we can confront the conflicts that divide us. Like when they say the worst prejudice is the silent prejudice. Reason being is because a silent prejudice has the potential of being generational, getting passed down involuntarily from parent to offspring. But we must remember, there is no instant gratification in this, and the results will vary, as not everyone has the strength or is ready to let go of old ideals. It has been an ongoing battle, but for the first time, we have the tools and the open minds we need to turn the tide. When individuals are empowered, they no longer are afraid to confront those who oppress them with inequality, harassment, or abuse. They no longer need to work for companies that encourage slave labor practices whose wages always seem to stay just above the poverty line, while the same companies benefit millions from their efforts. The goal of 88 Industries is simple. Engage perspectives in a way that gives people the courage to open those doors, look inside, and have the conversations that make them uncomfortable. Because when we are empowered, we are electric life. So ask yourself, how do you see the world? If you're like me, perhaps you feel we could use some fresh perspective. If so, please join us in this thing called life. Join the collective, open yourself up to new perspectives, help empower those who are powerless, and maybe, just maybe, we will learn how to evolve into the compassionate and loving creatures we truly are. Thank you.